Alright, welcome back. Sun beaming in, so you can't really see the logo behind me today. We are going to do something very fun, which is a mold review. With that being said, try to keep this short and sweet to keep y'all from having to watch a 20-30 minute video, which it'll still probably end up that. But with all that being said, we have an Epic Bait Molds 6.6 inch Epic Mander is what we're going to be looking at today. So what I do when I get a mold, or when I want to do these mold reviews, is we're going to try to do like a single color, and then we're going to try to do a laminate, just to see how it turns out, because not every mold can do a laminate bait. With all that being said, let me know what you think, and let's go ahead and jump into this. Okay, so getting started with today's video, here's the mold I was speaking of. It's the Epic Bait Molds 6.6 inch Epic Mander, which is a really cool mold. And you can see I got some labels on it. That just tells me that this is the top side of the mold, which you'll see why during this video. And this is the bottom side of the mold. I did not put a name label on it because it's already got it engraved in the mold right here. Some of my molds do have a name label on it. So let's open it up. So you can see it's held together with a bolt and a wing nut, which holds it shut. So let's take it open and let you look at the way the mold is set up. So this is the top side, pretty cool looking, and the bottom side. And the reason this is the top side is kind of hard to see, but you can see it's got the eyeball indentions, which would make it the top side. Another cool thing about this particular mold is it has 3 ports on the top of it. And in case you didn't look at it real closely, the first port is for the whole thing, shoots the whole entire body. Of course, that's a typical mold, shoots the whole bait. Then your second port here shoots just a little ball. So where does that ball go? Right here on the tail. So you have the option to go ahead and make a different color or whatever you want with this, and then just place it in the mold, at which point you would just inject the whole thing and it wouldn't fill in that. You also have your third port, which is just going to make your legs right here. Same concept. You could just shoot a different color leg, take it out, put it in the leg space here, and then inject the whole thing. So with that being said, after taking a look at that, let's test it out, try a couple different things, and see what we can do. Alright, so one quick thing I wanted to show. I won't show the whole process of melting this stuff down because you already seen how that worked in some of the other videos, and we will have a more step-by-step tutorial video coming later. But I wanted to point out, every color or everything we see today that we're going to inject is left over from material from other projects that I've done. And what I wanted to show is how I do it, and this is all personal preference, because by all means there's more than one way to do it, but I like to take the leftover pieces and just chop them up into smaller bits when I put them back in the cup. Even the leftover pieces from the injector, I'll just chop them up into little smaller pieces, just like so. And the reason I do that is because in my experience I figured out that it melts a lot easier when it's chopped up into those small pieces. With all that being said, I'm gonna get this melted down and we'll be right back to inject our mold here. Okay, so we got that all melted down, which is, in case you're wondering, this is Dead On Plastics synthetic is what it's called, and it's just it's like a variant of a motor oil color. It was just left over, is what we had sitting around, so it's what I decided to use today. I will do a video specifically on this color later on. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So I got an injector, our color's melted down. So the first thing we're going to do is use this color and inject all 3 of our ports here, and then we'll see what it looks like. So bear with me. We're gonna get our plastic drawn up here. Alright. Port number 1, which is the body. Alright. That's full. On the stick there. Top it off. The tail ball. It's the second one. Top it off. And then fill up the legs. And that was the legs. Alright, so we had our legs, the tail ball, and then the whole entire body. That is now full of plastic. So we'll let that cool off. We'll crack it open and take a look at it. Okay, so now that this is cooled off, let's crack it open. See how we did. Take these little wing nuts off here. Alright. Easy to open, which is always a good thing. Alright, so there we go. You have it. Well, this is a really huge bait to look at. So, but you can kind of see it in the video here. I mean, it is 6.6 inches, so that is a lot of bait. So let's take the body out first, or the whole entire bait, so you can see what that looks like. Yeah, it's even hard to get on the whole screen here. This is how big it is, and you can see the legs, the tail ball, which there was a little bit of leftover material on there, and then you can see, or you can barely see the eyes right there, which is pretty neat. So we'll take that off. That's what we got. So I'll set this to the side. So our second cavity, which is just the tail ball, came out just a little ball, which same thing here. So we can take that off. I think that's pretty cool how they included that all in one thing. And then lastly, third port here just made us a new set of legs. Made us a new set of legs. So I think they had a good idea going on here. So what we're going to do is, this time I'm going to get another color melted down, and we're just going to do the ball and the legs and see what that looks like in a different color and go from there. Alright, now we're back. We got our second color melted down here. Again, this was from all leftover material. So all we're going to do is shoot the tail and the legs and take a look at it and see what we get. So with the tail and the legs, we know we don't need a full injector because it's going to take very minimum plastic to fill those two cavities. So there's that. Top that off. That was our tail ball, and then here's our legs. Alright, full. Top it off. Alright, put our leftover back in the cup. Alright, so now we're going to let that cool off, and then we'll crack it open and take a look. Alright, let's crack this open and see what it looks like here. So again, remember we only did the tail ball and the legs. So there we go. So of course they're not going to come out on one side. But here are our extra legs. Right there. Let's see. Get them untangled here. There we go. Extra set of legs. Looks good to me. And then our extra tail ball. Little ball. Well, perfect. So then we'll come back and put our extra tail ball and put our extra legs in the mold, and then inject another color around it to see what it looks like. Okay, so you may have asked, what are we gonna do with the tails and the legs and the ball that we shot in the extra colors in the purple? So we're actually gonna put these in the mold, but we're gonna put them in the actual body part. So we're gonna start with our tail ball, which is the easiest, and then we're gonna get our extra legs and try to put them in here as best we can, which all you want to do is line it up and then set it right down inside of that cavity there. This can be a little tedious, but not the end of the world. There's been harder things for sure. Get that little press down in there. Make sure it's in there good. It's one side. Now we'll do this side. Right. In there. Press that. You can make this a little more messier and put some worm oil in there. Kind of helps it set down, but I think we got it. So there you go. You can see we put it back in there, and what we got going is in the microwave we're melting down another color we're going to inject in here to put it all together. Now I put mine on this side of the mold, that way when we close it up you make sure you get a good seal. You see, if I put it on this side, which is okay, you can do that, but if you put it on this side, when you go to close it, it's going to be easier for those things to fall out. So I'll put it on the side that's got to stay one direction. That one will close it like so. Once we get it closed, we kind of look around the edges, make sure it's sealed off all the way, and then close her down. Alright, and then once we get our other color melted down, we'll inject that and see what it looks like. So we got another color melted down here, which is just leftover watermelon color spiced up with some different glitters. We already put our purple tails and whatnot in here, so let's just inject it. Get this show on the road. Pull up some plastic and let's fill it up. We're only going to do the one port because that's all we need, and it's just the body cavity, so we don't need to. We're not going to do the tail ball or the legs again. Alright, so let's let that cool off and then we'll take a look, see what we got. Alright, so now that this thing's cooled down, let's crack it open and see what it looks like. Da-da-da. Come on now, there we go. Yeah, so check that out. Not exactly a typical color scheme, but still looks pretty neat in my opinion. We'll take that off. So there's our purple legs, purple tail ball, and our green body. So I think that is actually very cool looking bait anyways. Not saying it would definitely work, but we're definitely onto something. So let's move on to our next and final test of our mold here. Okay, so before we get started in doing this, in case you don't know, laminate bait is essentially a two-color bait, not like we just did with the green and purple, but you're gonna have the top half is one color and the bottom half is another color. In theory, this mold should work exactly for that, because it is easily defined. One, what is top and what is bottom. Two, we have our blending block, which makes us or allows us to do the two color things by injecting one color on one side and another color on the other. Without going into too much detail, we can do a video on that later. You can see where it comes out of the bottom. So if it's sitting in the port here, just kind of hard to see. When you inject that, one color will go to one side, the other color goes to the other. So, will it work in this mold? That I do not know, because I've never tried it. In theory, it should, because the orientation of the mold is set up for that. There's a defined top, a defined bottom. So let's see what we can do. Okay, so we got our two colors ready to go over here, which is the watermelon color and a bubble gum, just a traditional bubble gum. So we're going to take our dual injector. We already know which is our top, which is our bottom. We have our blending block set up and ready to go. So let's pull up some plastic here. And inject. Good and easy so far. Filled up. So let's top it off. Alright, I'll set that there. Push our leftovers back in the cup. I'll set that there to cool off. So once this cools off enough to open up, we'll see if it worked. Quick before we open up our mold, this is one of my favorite parts here, is taking a look inside of this blending block to see what it looks like. With that being said, let me run this screw out. Right. And we'll see how this works. So like I mentioned earlier, you can see one color goes in one side, the other color goes in the other, and it blends it together. And if this is any indication on how this turned out, I think that'll be right beautiful. So let's get this out of the way and open up our mold here. Alright, here we go. Just like opening a present on Christmas morning. So it's like every time you open one of these molds. We'll take it. Alright, so the bottom will come out like that. So let's go ahead and take it out. Alright. Take off this extra end piece. So there's our top half and our bottom half. Now we can be extremely picky. This is not the best laminate I've ever seen. However, you can see there is a defined bottom with the pink, defined top with the watermelon. It did bleed over in the top part. It looks like it bled over a little bit on the sides. The legs, they're so thin it looks like it blended together more than laminated, which this leg looks like it did pretty well, but this other leg here did not. The tail looks like it did well all the way down, even into the tail ball. It did pretty well, except for got a little dent right there. So all in all, not too bad. A little bleed over, especially on that bottom part right there. All in all, not too bad. Alright, so there we have it. The Epic Bake Molds 6.6 inch Epic Mander. Pretty cool mold altogether, with a top and bottom. You can see the little eye indentions there. the eye socket, three ports, one for the body, one for the tail, and then one for the legs. And then everything we kind of made today, the extra purple legs, that first color which is like a motor oil. We put the purple tail ball, purple legs on there, and then our laminate bait. Not too bad. Not too bad of a day. Alright, so overall I think that was a pretty good success. Everything turned out pretty good except the laminate or the two color bait, and some of that could have been my fault. You know, I may not have had both cups of material at the right temperature, or the blending block could have been off center a little bit, could have made it do that. So who knows, I'll have to play around with the mold and see if there's see if it comes out any better. With all that being said, I think that wraps up today's video with Caleb's Temptation, with the sun beaming in so you can't see the logo back here. Let me know what you think. Are the mold reviews, is that something you want to see more of? I do have tons of molds, probably, I don't know, around 30 different molds currently, and I'm all the time adding new molds. Or if there's one in specific that you may want to see, let me know. I'll see if I can order it and we'll get a video on it. With that being said, thanks for officially watching. See y'all next time.